Hello. So, I do not have good light here because I have nowhere else to film but my car. And I have not checked my sound, so this is probably gonna sound really bad, but I got my Naruto headband and that's all you need. So, maybe I'll take off my glasses. Maybe you can see my eyes better. um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about dyslexia because I have dyslexia and I see people not talk about this enough. So, the the thing I do not see enough is don't see the overall struggle with dyslexia. I see people talk specifically about how it impedes your ability to um, read and write, and the struggle of learning to read and write, which um, is a problem with dyslexia and is a very significant problem with dyslexia. It took me a long time to learn to read and write, and for a while my mom thought I wouldn't. But there is more problems with dyslexia that people will struggle with, and I do not see those talked about enough. And so I want to bring a little bit more to it. This started because I tried to find videos about it, and there was none. So I thought I would talk a little bit about it. I'm out of breath. So the struggles I have had have come to light even more to me since working. I have one of my first jobs, one of my first significant big job, and I have realized how much dyslexia impedes my ability to work in some areas and how it makes me better in working in other areas, and the struggle in communicating to my boss those things. And I've had a few issues in the past with people saying dyslexia is used as a crutch and it is not real, and it's difficult because obviously if you have a disorder that's in your head versus physical, it is physical, but it's physically in your brain, and so people can't see that, and so they assume that it's just behavioral issues, but behavior is affected by the brain, and so there's something wrong with your brain. It's not that you are stupid or that you are misbehaving purposely. And it's funny because dyslexia was never something I personally felt shameful about because my older sister had it and I understood it well when I was young. Instead, my ADHD was the real thing that I felt shame about. But recently, I've been struggling a little bit more with the title dyslexia because I have faced people who have been more like, well, that's a crutch. And what I've come to is no, it's not a crutch. It actually has significant things that impede my ability to do stuff. I'm saying the same words a lot. So let me go through the things. One thing I've found that really is a big problem is memory recall. Dyslexics have a lot of trouble with memory recall. So there's different type of memories. There's different types of memory, and one of them is recall. So you're able to store something and then bring it back. So take for instance orange. You can store the word orange in your brain and its connection to an orange. It's stored in there. And so when people talk about orange, you can, or somebody has an orange, you can think of the word orange and ask them for the orange or mention their orange. Dyslexias have a problem with that. The wiring of their brain makes it difficult for them to recall words. They see an orange, but they can't recall that word. And so they might be pointing at an object or trying to come up with a word and it's not coming to them. Or they might use funny words, which actually I think in some ways makes me interesting and fun, but can also be very frustrating to people and frustrating to myself when I'm trying to communicate in an intellectual way and I can't bring words to my ideas because they won't come. And so people, start making fun of you, and you're actually trying to engage them in a conversation, and instead you just sound like an idiot jabbering on. And so that's been significant in my job recently, trying to remember words and say them quick enough. Another one is processing sensory. Dyslexics have trouble processing sensory. I want to research this more. It has less research done in it, but in recent years we've realized that dyslexia has issues with processing sensory, and personally I struggle with that, and it does tend to sensory processing disorders do kind of go along with dyslexia, but then in itself, dyslexia has some sensory processing issues with it. So for me, this shows up, and I say for me because it's very difficult to say for everybody this is how it is, especially when it comes to something like a behavioral disorder, which has such a wide spectrum, especially something like autism. That's huge. It's different, very different for everybody. But even dyslexia comes on a spectrum, and so for my sister, it's completely different than what I struggle with. Some people struggle with numbers. I have no problem with numbers. I'm great with numbers, but letters just give me so many issues. So back to what I was saying. Sensory processing shows up for me as trouble in overwhelming and loud environments, tuning in and trying to understand what people want from me, and also in areas, certain sensories, for instance, jeans. I never wore jeans growing up. They were too overwhelming, the senses on my skin, on my legs. It was too much for me, and it would more than distract, it would be something that I could not let go, And so dyslexics have trouble with that sensory processing. Dyslexics can get overwhelmed with that and get overwhelmed in those situations. It's difficult to say this also because it's, like I said, not well researched, and personally I haven't researched it enough, so I'm going to go more into it. But one of the areas I've heard is they have trouble, especially linked to their memory struggles. Not that they have a bad memory, but they have trouble recalling things. They might try to join like a game people are playing, but have trouble recalling rules, and they get overwhelmed, and it's just too overwhelming. And after a while, you learn to associate new games and social groups with negative, overwhelming feelings, and so you just get this social anxiety around people. Another thing people don't talk about is what was it? Direction words. Dyslexics have a lot of trouble with direction words. So if you say up, down, left, right, I may have pointed in the wrong areas because I don't know what they are. I have a lot of trouble with direction words, we as dyslexics. It's a very difficult thing because it goes back into the, memory recall thing and other areas. You don't have trouble picturing a up and like, you say, hey, go get the can of tomatoes on the shelf left. Like, I can't even make it up because I have trouble with it. But down the hall to the left on the top shelf, it's green. Dyslexics will, like, I remember my mom giving me a direction like that and standing and thinking and like trying to remember what the word shelf and like trying to put together what that would look like and how I would execute that. And she was like, why aren't you doing it? I'm like, I need a second. And then I figured it out and I went and did it. People don't understand that aspect, and it's also really, it can be embarrassing because it makes you look stupid. Going back to, I think dyslexia is like the number one thing that just like, it's like the disorder makes you look stupid. No, there's many disorders that make you look stupid. Dyslexia does that a lot. And you're not stupid. You're really good at many things. It's just these few things that are used in communication are impeded. And when your communication is impeded, it really does give, it gives, not gives, it messes with people's abilities to see you as a person, really. When you have trouble communicating with people fully, people can easily demean you. You see this like all over the place, people of different languages or people who are mute, and in the case of dyslexia, people who struggle with words and communicating their thoughts and ideas. And it can, I feel like the number one thing that it's caused me to be is really lonely. I have trouble, just feeling safe around people and connecting with people because I feel like people have this idea who I am. And then that's true for everybody. Everybody feels lonely and everybody feels like not understood. But I think particularly when you have trouble with communication, it can be hard to feel understood, especially friends. Luckily, I have a really good family who understands me well. I still surprise them, and I surprise myself. We all do. We don't understand ourselves. But I have a good family that understands me well. But when it comes to friends, it can be very difficult because I can feel just inferior. You know, you kind of have this general sense of inferior. And talking to neurodivergent in general, neurodivergence in general, it's recently it's been really, I've been struck with the reality of how just kind of hard it is, you know? It's really hard to be neurodivergent. And I mean, life is unfair. So it makes, it's not like I'm over here gonna talk about, oh, how sad it is. I want a hug. Instead, I'm gonna sit and talk about this. If you're neurodivergent or you know somebody who's neurodivergent, they're not stupid and you're not stupid. And they're, they're the things that you love and the things that you're passionate about aren't stupid. And I don't know if this is just me, but I feel as if my neurodivergence like makes me so passionate about things. Um, this might be part of my ADHD, and it might also be dyslexia. I'm not sure, or just mood stuff in general. But I'm very passionate and very excited, and I feel things very deeply. And when people perceive that as foolishness, it really hurts me. Especially when I have my friends all see that as just kind of silly Lila. It hurts me, because that's so deeply ingrained into me, And so I feel like the number one thing you can do to help somebody who's neurodivergent, if you want to, is just be excited about the things they're excited about and ask them about it and, get excited about it with them and understand that the world they see is different than yours, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. Taking the time to ask what they think and try to understand what they're saying it makes the world, instead of just telling them to do it the way that you do it, because they might have a brilliant way of doing it, much better than yours. But if you don't take the time to ask them, they'll just stay silent and they'll try to do it your way and not understand it, and then you'll just perceive them as stupid. And it's a cycle I've struggled with, trying to help people understand this and trying to understand this myself, because when all you do is corrected by the world, all you do is seen as the inferior way, you start seeing yourself as inferior. Though your actions do not link up to your value, it is a cycle. It's kind of the way you do brainwashing. I've done research about brainwashing because I don't know. But when you see in cases of brainwashing, they make everything that they don't like about the person like inferior, and they put the stress constantly on this person, this constant stress. And then the 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 manipulation they use is like releasing that stress and putting on that stress. It feels like that sometimes, when you have neurodivergence. It's like this constant stress. It's like the world is out to get you. It feels like you're facing down the world. And one of the things that my mom has told me in the past that really helped me is she said that she wasn't fighting against me. In the past, she has been against me, but she wants to fight next to me, fighting against the struggles in dyslexia and ADHD. And that really helps me. If you can get that image in your mind for somebody who has neurodivergence in your life, that you are not fighting against them, but you're next to them fighting against something else, that can really help you cast an image, like cast a mission image for you. Especially when it's very difficult, because neurodivergence can be very difficult. That's alright to say. It's alright to be frustrated with somebody. I just want you to know that we're just as frustrated, probably more with ourselves than you are with us. And making a voice for neurodivergence, talking specifically to neurodivergence, I'm just 18 currently. I mean, that's not that old, but I have gone through a lot. So you can go through a lot. I'm just speaking out to people, you know. I have, you know, I have. Maybe I should say it like this. I've made it this far with all of my struggles. You know, I have gone through a lot, and I know it might be hard, and it feels like the world is against you, but you can do a lot. People need people like us, you know? People need people that are different. And when you're neurodivergent, you have a decision. You have free choices you can choose. You can choose to let the world just mash you into a pulp. You can choose just to give up and become sullen, to have all of your passion and excitement sucked out of you and just become a drone and be the stupid people perceive you to be. Or you can have resentment against the world, against people who don't understand, against people who make fun of you and who treat you horribly because of your neurodivergence. You can, you know, lash back at them. You can hold this resentment and anger. You can constantly walk around just hating yourself and hating the world. Both ways are not an abundant way to life. But there's a third option, and this is what I'm struggling to do, and I'm getting better at every day. And I keep on falling into different areas, but I'm working on making this my life is forgiving people and realizing that you are different, and that difference is a struggle. That is a struggle, and it's hard, but it's your struggle, and other people might not see it. Other people are not going to see it. They're gonna say that's a crutch, say that you don't actually struggle, but you do. And you must take that and also realize, but other people need you. There's a story I love that Witch of Blackbird Pond. It's a really good book. But something she says is she moves from a very she moves from a very exotic place and ends up going to this strictly Mormon place, and she has to follow all these rules. And she meets this lady, and this lady has this beautiful flower in her garden, and she asks her about it. And the lady says that it was an exotic flower from far away, and she did not think it would survive in this kind of swamp-like marsh. But it bloomed in adversity. It grew through that, and it is the most beautiful flower in the garden because of that. Because it's different. It's so eye-catching, but it had to grow and create these roots in this soil it was not meant to be in, and that was really hard. But even in that, it was able to shine, you know? And that image has helped me a lot. Realizing that this is a struggle, this is hard, but I need to forgive people. I need to recognize that I'm different, and I need to recognize people do need that. That it's not it's a defect, but it's a disorder, but it's not a defect, you know? People need that in life, even though it is a hindrance. Not that I'm some kind of superhero or anything, but that I can help people even in my greatest struggles. The idea that my weakness is my strength has been very impactful to me. And I would just like to give that to anybody who's neurodivergent because this is something I'm trying. You know, when they say, you know, if you're trying to learn something better, teach it. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to teach people about this so that I can learn it because I still struggle with this. I gotta go back to work tomorrow, and I'm so excited, as you can tell from my face. There's areas I love working, but I just, man, I struggle so much with just with people that don't understand the neurodivergence, especially because I'm new and very different than everybody else in the group. But your passions, your desires, your dreams, they're awesome. You know, those are not things you should feel ashamed about or guilty about. And you're not stupid, you're not dumb. You just have a learning disability or a behavioral disability or some other areas. And you, it's gonna be a big, big struggle and it's gonna be hard. But people need you, and and you need to forgive people who treat you, horribly because of it. And you need to find the area where you can bless people in life. And yeah, yeah, it's hard. I think people don't realize how hard it is to be neurodivergent. There's kind of shame around being honest about it, but I'm totally fine about being honest about it because I mean it's part of me. Me trying to act normal would be ridiculous because I'm not normal. Saying normal is hard because no one's normal. I feel like we all have something, not some neurodivergence, but we're all different. So the word understood is kind of neurotypical. That's the better word for it. So let me use the right word. But I'm not neurotypical, and I don't do things the way other people do them, and that's okay. The way I do them can be just as efficient, if not more, many times. But I have to understand how to work with people and communicate this to others, and I hope I can inspire you guys to do that too. Yeah, this was a long rant. I was starting out to talk about dyslexia, but then I was just talking about neurodivergence in general because I mean, this is a struggle for me, so I thought I would share all aspects of it. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I think I would love to do more videos. I've been recently having a passion on my heart to do more speaking and talking. It's something definitely close to my heart, and I have a lot of different topics I would like to talk about, but I also need to find time for that. So this is just really thrown together last minute. So I hope can help you, and I wish you the best on all of your endeavors. And if you're neurodivergent, go out and be awesome. And if you have somebody in your life who's neurodivergent or not, just whoever you are, go out and be awesome. And, understand that we're all different and we're all trying to make it through this crazy thing called life. And just having grace on people is something that is in our modern society, not something we do, but so important. Having grace on people and just understanding that we have different ways of communicating and understanding. And so we need to reach out and understand each other better. I said the word understanding a lot in that sense, but getting better at understanding each other is very important. And so I wanted to create a voice for people who are different and hopefully create a conversation between all of us to better understand what things could help each other and how we see the world. So I hope you have a wonderful, lovely and wonderful day or evening or whatever, and go and be awesome.